World Dead Daily Live is on the air. And boy, does it feel rotten in here. Not in here, but in our world. They are lying to us about everything. Why does it feel like everybody who's in a position of power is lying to us about war, about the elections, about our economy, immigration, the border, and especially now our health? Welcome, everybody. We all know that RFK Jr. has joined the Trump campaign, and his main issue is to make America healthy again. So we're going to get into that and to see how the the other side is pushing back. You're not going to believe this headline that we're going to share with you today from Time. Kamala Harris, of course, she is trying to change the rules of the debate. We'll go over some of her mistakes that are being highlighted once again from some great folks around the internet over on X. And then, of course, it seems like it's never ending that some sort of conspiracy from months or years past all of a sudden comes to fruition as being true. So let's bring in our panel here, the A-list panel, as I like to call them. Good afternoon, good morning to everybody wherever you are. We have to get going here with this Make America Healthy Again. I mean, I think all of us secretly, maybe not so secret, but all of us, we care about our health, we care about our children's health and all of that. And so to have this be such a on the forefront of the conversation now is fantastic. And we have comedian Rob Schneider was on Charlie Kirk. Yes, of course, please, World Net Daily. We have the article up there, and Rob Schneider is on Charlie Kirk explaining how unhealthy America is. Let's take a look at that.
We have to get Americans healthy, or we will not be able to afford to fix our roads or do anything.
That's right.
80% of Americans are overweight, and all the cigarette companies that when they knew that cigarettes were going out, there's nothing they could do, and they tried to lie and fight and whatever, they bought up the big processed food companies, and the same scientists that were working on cigarettes to make it more addictive are making those processed foods.
That's right.
So we got to get people healthy. That's how you can really help your country too. You got to vote out these blue machine, but you also have to encourage people 10,000 steps a day, get off processed foods, stay out of the middle of the grocery aisle, get off pharmaceutical drugs.
Great words from Rob Schneider. Who would have thought Rob Schneider, right? Right, Joe? Or Josh?
Well, you can do it. That was
you can do it
from one of his movies with Adam Sandler. You can do it.
Right.
And he does finish that interview with that tagline. But we can do it. This is a nation which was once healthy, and you go back to the 1950s, and everybody makes fun of the 1950s these days as if it were something bad. But we were a healthy nation. You didn't have all these problems that are popping up all over the place. Everybody seems to have an allergy these days. You open up the kitchen cabinet of people's homes, it's got all kinds of drugs in there, Zantac, and whether it's over-the-counter or prescription drugs. Everyone seems to be on something, but we are currently a sick nation, but it can be turned around with some very simple steps.
Yeah, I agree. Elizabeth, I wonder about you, because I think
I look at unhealthy?
no, you're very healthy. You're always so radiant on camera here. At least but I think back to having seeing how the increase of prescription medicines coming into the cabinet and replacing vitamins and supplements that used to be a big craze 30, 40 years ago. And so I'm wondering, when we're thinking about making America healthy again, I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we actually were a healthy nation, right?
Well, actually, this does go back a little further than maybe that question sounds like it implies. This goes back at least to that food pyramid that is complete bunk. It is garbage. If you're following the food pyramid, just do a 180 like Kamala and get away from it. The food pyramid doesn't work. As he stated, those cigarette companies purchased the huge food companies, and they want to make those those foods more and more addictive. And studies prove that this is true. They put ingredients in. I don't know the names of them. I don't need to. I just know that that's what they do. And we try to, in my household, just to put, a personal experience. When my husband had his first stroke and second stroke, and then my mother got cancer twice, right in quick succession. I went through the house. I threw out every bag of rice, all the pasta, all the bread. We started buying keto bread. It's not as good, but we started buying keto bread. I threw out every cereal. I threw out all of the processed foods, chips, everything. I just in the garbage. My mother couldn't believe it because, you don't throw away good food. But the reality is, he said, just shop. Don't shop in the middle of the store. Shop around the edges where the milk, the bread, the vegetables, the fruits are. Flour. Flour is not even good either. But the point is that our diets are killing us. And when I think Joe was just saying that this can be turned around, the beauty of it is it can be turned around quickly. My mother dropped weight like this. I dropped weight like this. My husband dropped weight. Immediately, I felt better. My mother felt better. And she was in her 80s. And it can be turned. It doesn't even take a generation. He said, RFK said, in 2 years, we can do something, make huge strides. In 4 years, it can be solved. Now, whether he would be allowed to do that, not by the Trump administration, but by all of the powers of the deep state and big food. But if he's allowed to do it, and if he's so strong, I think that's what people are very excited about. This man is a man of convictions, and he, like the rest of those who are, flocking into the Trump camp, are people of conviction, unlike Kamala. And they will do this if they can. And so I'm very hopeful. Maybe that's just me being a Pollyanna.
No, not at all. No. I mean, I think a lot of people are hopeful. Josh, I want to go to you, but let's watch this clip provided by Greg Price over on X with RFK speaking to this issue again.
About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. Laboratory scientists who many of them formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out new chemicals to make the food more addictive.
Yeah, Josh, he used the word ultra processed. I mean, you've got young kids. I've got young kids. I mean, this is a big issue in my house. Is it the same in yours?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's kind of cool is I have always tried to think about what's healthy, but honestly, this has really brought it like onto the stage for everyone. I think people are talking. RFK Jr. gets credit for this being a national conversation for everyone. So, there's always our friends that like the granola types, the healthy folks. But now it's kind of like a conversation we're all having. And it's great because on the other side, you have Kamala dreaming up ways to actually be interested in the border. And then what ways can we tax the people? That's their messaging. Strange things like equity that no one understands. That's all what the left owns. And the right is now owning MAGA, Make America Great Again, but also Make America Healthy Again, thanks to the messaging of RFK Jr., which is kind of like, it's such a better package. It's got to be way more appealing to the voter.
It's
I
so
would think so.
beautiful.
I would think so. Which is
May I mention
precisely
one
why
thing?
Time magazine has this headline that Time put out. Have you guys seen this? Look at this. What if ultra processed foods aren't as bad as you think? Elizabeth, I mean, this is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Ultra processed. Okay, I was wanting to jump in on this anyway because the ultra processed, it's part of a sort of a complex. It's like the biggest con job ever. You mentioned the granola types, granola bars. All of those bars are pure garbage. They are so full of sugar, it's ridiculous. It's out of control. If you see what the cute mom, she packs the kids lunch and she sends him off to school and he opens it up. There's an apple. Now the apples are good unless you have your fruit juice box, which is, you might as well take water and pour several tablespoons of sugar and drink that. That's what it is. You're drinking pure sugar. The apple is sugar, but at least it has fiber and it's good for you. Then there's white bread or even brown bread, which is as good as white bread, and it's full of sugar. And then there's some processed meats in there. And then you have chips, which is again sugar. All of these carbohydrates just turn to sugar. This is why children have this fatty tissue that is covering their livers and all their internal organs. This is a special kind of fatty tissue. If you eliminate carbs, and I'm not saying you can never eat a carb again, but especially the the highly processed flours and all the chips and, all the processed foods that are carbs, they turn immediately to fat in your body. And so you think I'm not eating fat. No, you're creating fat by eating this. This is killing kids. Kids have diabetes. And he mentioned this fatty tissue, liver tissue, whatever. This is destroying our kids. And moms are putting little sticky notes with hearts and smiles and flowers in, I love you, honey. I'm poisoning you to death, but I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm so glad it's a national conversation. That's what you said. It's become a national conversation because Trump and RFK have joined forces, and this is so invigorating. It's so vital. It's like a living campaign that is solving or saying that we are going to address these issues that actually directly affect real people.
Now, Joe, I want to ask you this because it's interesting. It's not lost on me here, and I don't think on many people that the sort of the Republican side, the conservative side, would kind of embrace this. Because, as Josh mentioned, this has been more of a granola issue. It's been more of people that are like the hippies and on the left for so long. And I think possibly conservatives and Republicans have had such a huge trust in government for so long that I think now that we've gone through what we've gone through as a nation, through COVID, through the wars, and through the populist movement that Trump has brought on, that we are more apt to question, and then when this issue is raised again, that we look at it through a different lens. Do you think that that's where we're at? Because this hasn't been Reagan wasn't running on this. He was talking about drugs, not red dye number 40.
I think you're absolutely right, and we've talked about this before, but people on the political right, conservatives, if you want to call them that, are interested in life and promoting life, whereas the political left tends to promote death, as we've done shows on here, whether it's abortion or just unhealthy, getting people hooked on every other television ad these days seems to be a prescription drug of some kind. The Bible calls that sorcery, by the way. The Greek word for sorcery is pharmaceutical, or pharmakia to be specific. But yes, we live in a time where the conservatives or the political right are interested in life. Jesus said he himself is life, and he came that people have life and have it more abundantly. More specifically, he called himself the true food, the real food. So even before you get onto this physical food that you're throwing down your pie hole every day, if you are sick spiritually and don't have the true God, the true food, the real food filling you up, your mind and heart, you're going to be sick. That's why the nation is sick, because we've been abandoning God for the past few decades now. And it's just like rapidly increasing. So if we fix ourselves spiritually first, you know, one thing I've learned over life is that the spirit drives the flesh. The flesh does not drive the spirit. Think of it as you're driving your car. You're the spirit being driving the created thing. You make it go right, you make it go left, you make it go stop, you make it go faster. So the spirit in us, whoever it is, whether it's God himself or other people are filled with another spirit, a darker spirit, sometimes people call that the devil or a demon. The spirit is driving the flesh. So if you want healthy flesh, a healthy body, a healthy physical body, then you have to get your spirit right. Get right with God first.
Joe, that you put it
Really
so
good.
well. You
Reverend
put it so
Joe.
well. Yes, at Reverend Joe. Yes. That said, though, you use the term real food, and when you get your spiritual food, you should be eating real food. Vigilant Fox over on X posted this great clip from Dr. Mercola, I believe his name. Let's watch this clip.
There's 3 words that I strongly recommend. It's 3 easy words to remember, and that is eat real food.
I love that. Eat real
Eat
food.
real food.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you know what you accomplish? You avoid the artificial ingredients that are inserted into your food. And most people are not aware that there's over 10,000 chemicals that are labeled GRAS, generally recognized as safe, by the food industry themselves. And by labeling them as GRAS, they are able to penetrate a loophole that allows them never to be tested for human safety. Let alone, not just singly, but let alone when combined with all the others. So there's synergistic toxicity. So when you eat real food,
Just to be clear, grass is not grass. I think the typo was up there. It's GRAS, which stands for whatever it stands for.
Generally recognized as safe.
Yeah, generally recognized as safe. GRAS. Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. So when you see something like that, Elizabeth, and you think of all the chemicals and all the things that are used in our ultra processed foods, I mean, it is frightening.
It's just scandal of such monumental proportions, and it makes me wonder. It feels like God is moving here, because I just can't believe that I'm living today when things are so dark. They are so ugly. We are faced with an existential threat. It's not just Kamala. It's not just Timmy. And I'm not going to say what everybody's calling him. It's so gross. But it's not just Kamala and Tim. And it's not just Obama. It is the entire, it's the forces of evil. We commonly refer to it as the deep state. But, fascism is essentially a marriage of the state and business. That the state runs the business. It's I don't know where the difference between communism and fascism or even National Socialism are, because I think it's just kind of a muddle. But the point is that we're living in a time where these forces, including big businesses like pharmaceuticals and big food, are working with the state. They're gaslighting us, yes, but they've been deceiving us for decades upon decades, and we've just been accepting it. And it takes a situation often like I faced with 2 people I love very much becoming very, very ill, and my oldest daughter saying, "Mom, you got to read this, listen to this book, watch these videos," and my brain just exploded. But on the other side, and I was referring to God moving, I just can't believe we're having this national conversation during a presidential election. Imagine 5 years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, making food, nutrition, diet, a national conversation, one that there are deep divides between right and left or one side and the other regarding nutrition. And of course, it's not just nutrition, it's going back to deep pharma and deep food as part of the deep state. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's a blessing. I wanted to cap that off. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
It is when I'm saying I can't believe I'm here right now. When he got up on that stage and he started talking, and then when he went over to the Trump campaign in that amazing moment, I'm thinking, I feel like I'm in a good Twilight Zone. This just, how is this happening?
Right,
and so
right.
We're being blessed by God. And in a time when this country is in great sin, so tells me that the Spirit is moving. Joe, I don't know if you agree with me there, but it feels like the Spirit is moving on this nation. And the forces of light and darkness are in battle all around us. We just can't see it because it's in the Spirit.
Well, I want to show this clip real quick, Joe, and then I'll go to you. But to your point, Elizabeth, RFK at that Trump rally when he was introduced there, asking the question, do you want healthy children? Let's watch it.
Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted.
Joe, isn't this truly an America First agenda item?
Yes, it's a life and health first agenda, and this is what people want. As Elizabeth was saying, it is a spiritual battle. You know, God says, I have set before you the ways of life and blessing, or the ways of death and cursing. Therefore, choose life. It's not just an abortion issue. We have to choose life on everything. When you choose the foods that you're eating for breakfast every day, that's a life and death choice. You know, the Bible has a lot to say about what is food and what isn't. A lot of people actually throw animals down their face that are not even considered food, but that's a different subject. But still, everything we do is a life and death choice, because we are only temporarily alive in this outer shell called our physical body. And we have to go through how many years God gives us in this, but we are training for our eternal life. And when we're in complete rebellion against God, whether it's the foods we eat or anything, the thoughts we think, we are bringing ourselves to death and eternal death, but we want life. So in this election, God is making it absolutely plainly clear which side represents life and having it more abundantly, and which side is promoting death.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing about that crowd? That was an amazing angle on that crowd. The stage looked so small, which it wasn't, because the crowd was so huge. And two things came to my mind immediately. Number one, I didn't see curtains blocking off half of the bleachers, not the bleachers, but the seats in the upper area, because they were trying to, and people spread out. So like Kamala, where they were trying to deceive us into believing that they took up the entire auditorium or whatever you call it. But the other thing is, I was trying to picture RFK and Donald Trump up there with three women twerking around them. And which of course, I don't know if everybody watching remembers the twerking Kamala campaign rally. But these are, I know Donald Trump is brash and, I don't know what to call him, brash.
Well, his twerking days are behind him, I think.
Right. But if you really compare it, when they criticize Donald Trump for things he says, like calling Kamala dumb, right? But just the comparison is tremendous between those two men and then Kamala and Tim. Yeah,
absolutely. Josh, we have this clip from the chief nerd on RFK again, breaking down the health issues here in America.
A big item that, and by the way, it's getting very expensive, are cereals. Why is the food coloring in particular bad?
Food coloring, you see here, yellow food coloring, that is a petroleum product. Mm-hmm. It's associated with really, with depression. It's associated with autoimmune injuries and ADHD.
Yeah.
Josh, in my house, we have a rule: no blue food. if a food is blue, you don't eat it. There's nothing natural about blue, like, blue ice cream and that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, they're more purple. They're more purple than blue. But like Joe's shirt, there's no food that has Joe's shirt on it. I mean,
this shirt used to be white. This is the food that is now on my shirt.
So what I really appreciate is that RFK is speaking about facts. He's literally, identifying this yellow dye as a petroleum product. Firstly, when you say petroleum product, I have a problem with consuming petroleum products. I believe they belong in, gas tanks or whatever. And I just appreciate that he's speaking about hardcore facts, and people can tell that he's being sincere and he's legitimate. He's
and it's dangerous. Yeah, and it's very dangerous because we have this clip when he first started running for president. The media came out immediately and tried to just completely discredit him. Let's watch some of this.
RFK Jr. is not a scientist. He is not a doctor. Although that has not stopped him from spreading lie after lie after lie on topics of public health and vaccine safety. RFK Jr. is, however, an overwhelming source of misinformation and disinformation, a purveyor of vile conspiracy theories and fake science. He's linked chemicals in our water supply to gender dysphoria, antidepressants to school shootings, and insisted COVID vaccines were a tool to control people. Seriously, he's that guy.
Incredible, Josh. Wow. Josh, he sounds just like you, Josh.
He sounds correct, doesn't he?
Amazing, right?
Matt, this is just such a perfect segue to the next section here. As the conspiracies that, as they are called, dystopian conspiracies,
right,
all start to kind of come true.
They do. They do. Here's this article over at WorldNet Daily. Zuckerberg comes out and says that he actually was pressured. His company was pressured. And if you guys remember this, the Chief Nerd shared a great clip over. Yeah, here's the letter here. But Chief Nerd shared a great clip with Josh Hawley, Senator Josh Hawley, questioning Mayorkas on doing pressure against Facebook. Let's watch the comparison here.
Mr. Secretary, it has been established for years in this country, as you very well know because you're a lawyer, that the federal government may not use private third parties to engage in activities that are unconstitutional. That's exactly what you and this administration are doing. You are leveraging private companies to carry out censorship on your behalf. It's dystopian, but worse than that, it's unconstitutional.
It's also false.
Turn now to a story breaking overnight. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg claims he was pressured by the White House to censor content related to COVID-19 during the pandemic.
Yeah. Matt, I want to read Zuckerberg's letter that he sent.
Yes, please.
I'll read it now. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take the content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction. And we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. Now, real quick, I want to just say, first of all, that clip previously from Senator Hawley shows that Mayorkas was absolutely lying in that Zuckerberg says specifically that the Biden administration repeatedly pressured them. And then maybe something it's almost too big for people to understand. This lower section, I'll read that. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to 2022 election. That fall, we saw a New York Post story reporting a corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family. We sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. You can read there, censored. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and blah, blah, blah. We promise not to do it again, which I don't know why. I don't know why we would ever believe them.
Well, that's my question. Yeah, that's my question, Josh. I mean, it's like the damage was already done, right? From those things, and it's fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Whatever the claim from me, whatever it is. It's like I want to say thank you, because then we get to use this as a argument with our family and friends that are on the other side. But
there's a problem though, Matt, and that is this: these things come and go in a way that they are buried. So. Yeah. I remember talking about this at the time, going, Facebook's absolutely censoring. They're telling us they're censoring. Then it was an open story that, Hunter Biden's laptop was real. And they don't want to get into to the Burisma thing, because one is Biden's son is a total degenerate, and probably he is too. But the other is national and international corruption on a level where people go to jail for a long time and they can't get near it. And so it's just been memory hold, but we're going to remind you here constantly.
Yes.
Because, well, the other conspiracies are likely true as well.
Yeah. And they keep moving. And even when something gets proved, they keep moving the goalposts, right, Joe? Yeah. They'll say like, oh, Hunter Biden's laptop isn't real. And then when it comes real, they say, but it really didn't matter. Right. I mean, they just move the goalposts.
Well, you played that clip earlier of Nicole, I think Wallace was her last name, of MSNBC, talking about RFK, and that lie after lie after lie. Basically, she was saying that he's full of deception. This coming from the same network that for months, perhaps years, promoted the whole Russian collusion deception to try to get Trump out of office. And, to this day, I haven't seen anyone in the media giving back their Pulitzer Prizes for the Russian collusion lie that they themselves promoted. So it's deception all the time, around the clock. It never stops with these people. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're going to see even through this election cycle. I mean, I don't know how closely people have been paying attention to the news, but it seems that every 24 hours that goes by, Kamala Harris abandons her previous position on something like the border wall is the new thing now. And she is now all for a border wall, which she happened to call a medieval vanity project by Trump.
Right. Yeah, we'll get into some of that flip-flopping here in a bit, but I do want to get through probably the most famous Alex Jones conspiracy theory ever, which is they're turning the frogs gay. Let's watch this. Let's watch one of these clips here.
You're going to realize, he's so bad because he's telling me things I kind of suspected were true. I mean, I was doing an interview yesterday with Bobby Kennedy, really an amazing interview. And right in the middle of it, he's like, atrazine, it can change the sex of frogs. And he was on a roll, so I didn't want to interrupt him. I was like, I think Alex Jones made that point like 15 years ago and was mocked. And now it's just the science. You were described as a lunatic, like a mental patient needing like full-time care because you were such a danger to yourself and society. When you said that, turning the frogs gay. And now it's just like, well, that's just the science. That's the science. It's the science. And when is someone going to call Alex Jones and be like, hey, Alex Jones, you were right about the frogs? Sorry.
There's atrazine throughout our water supply. If you, in a lab, put atrazine in a tank full of frogs, it will feminize every frog in there.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
And 10% of the male frogs will turn into fully viable females able to produce viable eggs. If it's doing that to frogs, there's a lot of other evidence that it's doing it to human beings as well.
I love that.
was
I love
cute.
that so
We're going to have to add another
much.
letter to LGBT and put the F in there for frogs. now.
For
Frogs. Yeah. But it really is. I mean, and this is the seriousness of the issue, right? I mean, if that is absolutely what is happening with our children, or with us, I mean, we have no idea what else is out there that we don't even know of yet. I mean, it boggles the mind. And this is the kind of thing, like 15 years ago, we wouldn't have entertained it. We didn't entertain it because we had so much trust in the system, right? We had so much trust in the experts. And I think, it's gone. Yeah, it's a post-COVID world. There's what was before COVID and what was after, and what these people have done to us. So,
well, it's not just Facebook. And by the way, the motivations, I know that immediately everybody, most everybody has said Mark Zuckerberg is a monster and this cannot be genuine. And one comment, though, I heard was this is probably a witness testimony, because when you testify before Congress, often they will say, respond in writing or provide us those documents that you don't have available to you today in this hearing afterwards. And it's counted as witness testimony under oath. And so that may be perhaps what he was doing there. And I didn't have time to look into that further, but it is possible that Mark Zuckerberg is coming around. And I think we should give him the credit for at least not in wholesale dismissing that he is making a change. He's taking that road away from the left. We all remember when he was being interviewed and he brought up President Trump's attempted assassination and the heroism and courage and just
Badass.
the response, right? That when he fight, right? Got right back up. And he said that it was inspiring. And I was touched at that moment. I mean, that's just me. I was touched that this man who did terrible things actually came out and said that. Now, some might say he's doing it because he's afraid Trump's going to win and what's going to happen. That just seems so tenuous to me. But I do believe that it's possible. Maybe it's only 10% possibility that Mark Zuckerberg's, the lights going on over his head, and just like with Elon Musk and so many, that they're making that transition.
Part of it might be, there's a magic word that comes around every 4 years, and that magic word is called elections. And when Mark Zuckerberg thinks that Donald Trump has a very good chance of winning, he doesn't want to be on his bad side.
Right.
Very true.
So you kind of play both sides, or at least a little more fairly, and this is possibly what's going on now.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg
I wouldn't
not have to say, though, that was inspiring. He could have said a lot of things, but I thought that was pretty strong.
It seemed genuine. It seemed genuine, Elizabeth.
Maybe he really is an alien. Maybe he's really, and he has been evil. But I'm just, we as Christians all believe that people, the worst dregs, the most horrible human beings on the face of the earth, that Genghis Khan could be saved by God. He could repent.
Oh, that's a great topic. We got to get into that someday. I know some stuff about Genghis Khan that I actually do like.
I was just having a conversation with David Brummer a little while ago about Genghis.
All right, good. Yeah. Well, that being said, let's go to Kamala. Let's go to Kamala real quick because Kamala, Trump was at an event and he spoke off the cuff again about Kamala. So let's do we have that clip about how dumb she is?
They also want to change the rules. The deal was we keep the same rules. Now all of a sudden they want to make a change in the rules because she can't answer questions. Why doesn't she do a couple of question answer? Why doesn't she do something like I'm doing right now? She can't talk. We can't have another dummy as a president. Okay, we cannot have a dummy.
I mean, he's back on Twitter. He's doing the mean tweets. I mean, this is Trump at his best, so to speak. But Kamala at her best isn't necessarily what exudes confidence in the American people when she's misquoting death numbers with the COVID pandemic. And she did it more than once. This isn't just one flub. Let's watch this clip.
We're in the middle of a crisis caused by this pandemic that is a public health crisis. We're looking at over 220 million Americans who just in the last several months died. We are in the midst of a public health epidemic that has taken the lives of over 220 million Americans in just the last several months.
Now, if you notice that was during the 2020 campaign, so we weren't even into 21 yet, and so I don't even know if it was 220,000. I mean, what was she misquoting there?
With that as well, like what was she? Okay, she obviously memorizes lines, though,
right?
And this is what I don't understand.
With an extra zero,
right? But that is weird. Million.
That's 2 out of every 3 Americans, by the way, in case you're not doing the math.
Yeah,
in a few months. It's not even like. It's a few months.
Yeah. And when you misspeak like that, usually, you catch yourself and you go, oh, that's, but it just flows right off of her because all she does is memorize her lines
and say the exact same thing. I can't remember the number he used, but it was something like 1 million people died.
He said 300 million or something, like the country'd be gone.
Okay,
yeah.
300
incredible. Million. And then I do want to say this, Joe, you mentioned, she's embracing the border wall now after being, I think we have Axios was reporting that she wants to build more of the wall. Here it is here. If she's elected president, she pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border. This comes after years of saying stuff like this. Okay. And of course, WorldNet Daily went to Grok and asked what that would look like if she showed up there. Stealing all of Trump's ideas. That's great. But do we have the clip of her just, talking about this was Trump's vanity project?
Oh. This issue is about a vanity project for this president. Right. And it is a problem of his own making. Right. And listen, when I travel this country, folks have plenty enough problems that they need their president to focus on instead of a wall that, by the way, because I was a prosecutor for many years, including the Attorney General of California, I specialize on transnational criminal organizations. Yeah. That wall ain't gonna stop them. No.
Joe, at least Trump said he wanted Mexico to pay for it. She wants to use your dollars, apparently.
Apparently Kamala is so for the wall, pro-wall, if you want to think of it that way, that she went out and got her vice presidential running mate named Walls. This is how serious she is. The walls are closing in now. And I don't know if the walls are going to come tumbling down on her, but it's just astonishing. It's like, as I was mentioning, every 24-hour news cycle, we have a major flip-flop, whether it's fracking or now we had the tax on tips, no tax on tips, and now we have the border wall where she's all of a sudden for it. She called it not just a vanity project, but a medieval vanity project in another clip. And, she herself is a medieval vanity project. You can't even, it's like she has her own rampart up and you can't get to her with a question. You have to catapult the questions over a whole bunch of people just to get her to try to answer something. She's going to be on CNN, apparently. This is the big interview, her sit-down interview, but she can't even do it alone. She has to have her emotional support governor, Tim Walz, again with her. So apparently she's for the wall. She's against the wall. Nobody knows what the heck is going on with her. So, but this is, it's part of the, if you sit back and pretend there's not an election going on and just look at this, like you're from a different country or from outer space or something, and just watch this unfold. It's like a comedy show. It's every single day. It's laughter after laughter. They are just taking misstep after misstep, but maybe it's just, I think it's God's way of saying, just let it happen. You can laugh at it. There's nothing to worry about here because it's just like a clown show happening.
Yeah, it is. It truly is the lost season of Veep, I think, if everybody's familiar with that TV show.
I do think that they may be overplaying their hand.
Who would be? Which?
The Kamala campaign. The Kamala campaign. Because when you start creating a pattern like this, she's also come out saying that she is not for electric car mandates, but she's always been for electric car mandates. So now she just came out, I think it was just today that she came out with that. She's not against fracking. I think she might have even talked about oil drilling, but I'm not sure. And then, the wall, it's becoming a pattern. If they had done it once and then maybe allowed a few weeks to go by, but to come out every 2 days or 3 times a week with a reversal is going to actually resonate with people. And it just declares her incompetence and her malign candidacy. I mean, she has no ethics. Her character is very, very damaged. And I think people can see through that. So I think
we're going to get a bigger insight into that. As Joe mentioned, she has her first interview as being named, the candidate of choice for the Democrat elite. And so along with her what'd you call it? Emotional support governor?
Right. Someone online said it was an emotional support governor that she has to have with her because she can't handle the pressure all by herself.
Right. So we'll pay attention to that. We'll of course cover all the stories, the Telegram founders. We're still, I'm still paying attention to that and all of these things. Please go to worldnetdaily.com there and read up on all these stories, share them, follow the Rumble channel. We're doing gangbusters over there. Elizabeth, where else? Yes.
Well, remember when you go to WND, WorldNet Daily, there's a nonprofit, WND News Center, and you can donate tax deductibly to the WND News Center, and that supports the great journalism that the News Center does, and that indirectly supports WorldNet Daily. And it is tax deductible, so always, consider that.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes. I mean, what a great way to support journalism like this, independent journalism, especially when we don't have Big Pharma buying ads over here on WND. Not that you would take it, right, Elizabeth? So, Josh, where else did I miss? You're always warning people about the censorship because it's here.
Yeah, it is here. X account. The Rumble channel is just going gangbusters. We'd love you to go over there and subscribe, but and like the content too. We need to get those numbers up, and we appreciate the folks that have gone over there and are watching now. And also Telegram. Telegram still works, and it's still a great place to see all the video that the other platforms will have to think about if it's in their guidelines or not. So, there you go. Telegram, join us over there. You'll see everything and completely uncensored. And that's kind of what we're going for these days. We want to know the truth.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Let's see everybody again. I want to say goodbye to everybody. We have a fantastic Friday coming up, so enjoy the rest of your hump day. Yes. All right. Take it.
Like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs